Welcome to the School of Risk podcast, where we have insightful, valuable, and sometimes intense conversations on the various dynamics of risk-taking in life and business. I am your host, your risk champ, Chizibale Gudo, and today with me on the show is Peter Hopwood. Peter is the founder of Hopwood Speaker Coaching. What does that mean? I have to read that out. That means that Peter is a global coach and TEDx coach. He's an international pitch coach, storytelling for sales, virtual speaking specialist. We are going to learn so much more about pitching, presentation, how to carry yourself on that stage. You know what time it is? Let's go to school right now. Welcome to the School of Risk podcast. Peter Hopwood, it's nice to have you here. And I'm glad you're here to enjoy this conversation with me, have this podcast, and, let's get to know you. Let's get an insight into what you do, and we'll build a conversation from there.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So essentially, I help people to find stories, right? To nurture those stories and to deliver those stories. So it's all about helping teams, helping individuals, helping, let's say, founders, startups, founders, business owners, to really share their messages in the right way, share their messages in a way that people are going to relate to, share their messages in a way that people are going to listen to them and remember them as well. So it comes under the umbrella of communication, which is quite broad. So I could be 1 week helping a TEDx speaker who's preparing for his or her 15, 16, 17 minutes of fame to get their story right and get that message really sharp, clear and concise. Or another week I could be helping a team, a sales or marketing team, really to really get their messages really clear and come across through this virtual experience, through Zoom, through virtual exchanges, and really help them connect, really help them build their relationships, and hopefully that leads on to more business as well. So really, as a storytelling pitch coach, speaker coach, and TEDx coach, those are the kind of main areas that my work really unfolds. Also, I'm also a presenter, so in terms of doing the stuff that I teach, I do it all. It's not like there's so many people out there that are in different industries. Okay, some industries you can get away with it, but this one, I'm really adamant that if you are a pitch coach, if you're somebody that helps people to share their messages better and to speak better and to use voice, body language, and all those elements, if you're not doing it, or if you can't do it well, what right do you have to kind of share those messages to others? So as a presenter, as a host at different conferences, different tech conferences worldwide, so some of the largest conferences on the planet, in fact, really proud that I get a chance and lucky I get a chance to travel and shape these stages on behalf of these event producers and event organizers, really to help audiences make sense of everything that's happening and keep the energy levels up as well, and help them walk away with value, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, bringing value. So storytelling, pitch coaching, TEDx coaching, presenting, and helping people share their stories, finding their stories and sharing their stories in a better way. That's really, in a nutshell. Was that a nutshell? Wasn't really a nutshell. It's kind of like
that was more than a nutshell.
It was a big nut. It was a massive nut with a big shell, and I kind of went all the way around it.
All the way around, yeah.
360 around the shell. So there we are. That should hopefully that kind of gives a good flavor of
you actually went quite into a bit there, and I love that pitch coaching, because a lot of people do pitch to potential clients, presentation pitches. They want to win this contract, win that contract, and do not actually. I'm actually, I'm guilty of this. I've never had anyone teach me how to pitch. I just do what I think I know. Why is it important?
I mean, that's pretty much, we all do that in a way. We all do, if we feel confident at it, or if we think we're doing okay, often we don't think we need to. But maybe when the stakes are higher, if there are higher stakes involved, and it really meant something really, really of value, and a little bit of investment into yourself, into how you share your messages, and more awareness, just that kind of small or even maybe large investment at the end of the day should bring back even a better reward. So really, yeah, the people that kind of hire me, and companies that invite me into their world are companies that really, their stakes are quite high, and they really want to get it right. So just changing small things in behavior, small things in mindsets, small things in how they approach the way they share their messages, and as I say, absorbing a better understanding and awareness of how they show up can really mean a lot in terms of the outcomes that they get, in terms of the deals, projects, business, credibility. All these things can actually boost up a small step by step, and then it helps them get as I say, get to the outcomes, or better outcomes at the end of the day.
I've got tons of questions running through my head right now. you opened up that nut right now.
And nuts, yes. It's an open nut.
Exactly.
The walnuts, the massive walnut.
Yes.
Wide open.
Absolutely. So is it important? Do you think, I mean, I've never thought about it before, and I'm sure a lot of listeners might be thinking, I know my stuff. I don't need to know how to pitch. Is it important that people actually do take the time and invest in knowing how to pitch? You might be a subject matter expert at what you do, but pitching, that expertise,
Yeah, I think, yeah. I'll share with you where I am on this. Essentially, I think all these skills we can learn, we can adopt, we can absorb, they're all worth it. They're all valuable. However, we might be at a really high level in terms of in the industry we're at. We might be a real strong specialist, but we can always learn, and there's always something else to take us up to the next level. So wherever you are in terms of pitching, let's say pitching, obviously connected with sales, or obviously with getting business, obviously with getting people to be, or convincing people on the same wavelength as you, that your service product is right for them, right? So we can always improve, and if that means moving up your sales another 5% or 10%, that's good, even if you're doing really well. For those that are not doing great, okay, this 5%, 10% can really mean a lot. But I think we can always improve, and really that's where I come in, and I sort of identify those areas that maybe they haven't seen before. Many times I work with clients.
Give an example.
Okay, a client will come to me, let's say, and this happened about 3 weeks ago. Client came to me in terms of a startup founder, in fact, and doing really well, already got some funding, strong funding, looks like it's going in the right direction, but still he came to me and said, listen, I need you to look at what I have and show me the things I can do better. I said, yeah, okay, cool. Let's do this. So I really had a chance to understand. I really wanted to understand what the idea was, what the service was, how, what the product is, all those different elements. And I really needed to believe that and really understand it first. Once I understood it, I then listened to how he shares his messages. So how he shares his messages in terms of what he says, how he says these certain things, the tone, the type of, the intention that he has as well. That comes through also through our voice, absolutely, through our body, through what we want as well. So what we want, that often comes through what we say, right? So
Okay, wait. I like that one. Wait, hold on there. So I know I want the client to give me the projects.
Okay.
How does that come across to the client? I mean,
so if you're okay, let's say you want to get this deal. It's a big deal for you, and it's you're showing that, for example, that you really want it, right? Showing, let's say, in the startup world with founders, if you show that you're kind of needy, if you show that you're like not desperate, but you really want this, and you know it really means a lot to you to have their business, it kind of gives this impression that you are needy. Yeah, kind of gives this impression that
that's not good.
That's not a good thing. No, it's more about, okay, this is what I've got. This is good. I believe this is something of value, right? We're looking for people to invest in us that have are on the same wavelength as us. People that have that appreciate the same value. So we're not out to go and find investment from anybody. We just don't want money from anybody. Okay, money certainly from anybody would help. But the thing is, if you're a startup founder, it's really important to have this mindset of, okay, we're looking for specific investors that match what we have, that match the journey, that match me as a founder to work with, right?
Yes.
So, but if you're kind of just opening it up and just saying, look, we need investment, we want your money, we want anybody, and we're happy with anybody, then it's not going to work. No, absolutely. If an investor will certainly feel more valued and certainly feel that there's something there that they can work together on, if he can see that this founder is really nailed down on exactly the type of investor he wants, the type of the journey that he's going through, and that vision as well, right? So yes. Being needy, showing that this intention of like, oh, I really need investment, is not the right way to go. It's more about, okay, this is what we have. We know it's good. We know we're going to get investment, but we want to make sure it's the right investment. It's like saying, it's the same as that. It's exactly the same. Well, maybe not exactly the same, but it's kind of like saying a guy who's in his, I don't know, he's 40 something, right? And he kind of has this pressure from his mum to get married, right? And he's got to get married to a woman, right? Obviously, or man. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is he has to get married because his mum's put the.
It doesn't matter who, just get married.
Absolutely. So he could either go one of two ways. He could say, okay, well, I need to get married, and that's my goal. Right, and I'll do anything to do that. So I'll go online, I'll go to Malaysia, or I'll go to, not that, I think you can, I don't know whether you can buy wives in Malaysia, wherever you can buy wives in the world, right? Easy, there are places, online, like an online wife.com or whatever it is.
Is there such a thing?
I don't know. I wouldn't know, my friend. I would not. I'm divorced, but I'm not there yet. I'm not on that stage yet. Maybe in a couple 10 years time, I might be, creating that.
It'll take a while for me to do that.
Anyway, so he has either two options. He can go for this kind of like, I'll take anybody, or he can like really think about it and really think about who he is and what his values are and the right person that's going to be a great match for him. Even though that person, maybe he meets quite a few women and they seem on the outside really cool and really great and they're attractive and everything seems to be working, but the match isn't right. So again, it's the same as pitching, as certainly if you're looking for investment funding or financial investment, for example, right? Really not looking needy, but looking more at looking for the right match and saying to yourself, I may have to say no to people, right? I may have to say no to investors because I want a special kind of investor. I want an investor that's going to take this in the right direction. I want an investor who's going to be with me on this journey together. I want to have kind of maybe some coaching, some mentoring, some kind of, a journey on this. I don't want somebody who's just going to, chuck in a load of money into my startup, don't ever see him at all or her at all, and he expects to get his money back over 3 or 4 years,
That's interesting. And a lot of people that me included, who pitch for opportunities, or people who actually go for interviews and things like that, most times it's pretty much they don't care about the end client. I just want to get the job or get the project or get the client and get their money. So pretty much we are just throwing ourselves at their at their disposal, and at the same way they can also get rid of you, because you're not offering value. You're saying, I just want to be able to come in there.
That's right.
I mean, you are saying, yes, I can do the job and all that stuff, but you're not holding on to yourself and say, you know what, I need to check you out as well. Are you right for me?
There's also another thing as well to remember. So with again, pitching or presenting, pitching, TEDx speaking, whatever it is, you have to really think about your audience. What do they want and what do they value? Let's say a TEDx speech. The value there is about the message, right? So they don't have to, your audience don't have to like you. They don't have to give you any credibility. They don't have to do anything. But it's about the message. It's about understanding that message and getting them to change their perspective on something, getting them to think about something, and that's it, right? But with pitching, let's say with startup pitching or founders pitching their ideas, their services, or even agency pitching as well, right? This is not just the idea. It's about you. It's about they're investing into you.
Perfect.
They are choosing you. Because like ideas, there are ideas on the planet, probably somewhere on the planet, somebody else is doing the same thing. A competitor could be doing something very, very similar. But at the end of the day, they want to look at you. They want to see how, all about you, whether you are the right match as well, not just your idea. So it's all about, again, credibility, whether you're coachable, whether, they're thinking to themselves, what's it going to be like working with this person?
Yes.
You could have a fantastic idea, a great idea, but an investor will look at you and may think, somebody who's maybe really arrogant or just doesn't listen or just doesn't, isn't somebody that is going to be a pleasure to work with. They're going to forget it. I'd rather not have the hassle. So pitching often is not just about the idea, the service, the product, the actual value you're sharing, but also about you, whether you have got you've got the credibility to take this through, whether you've got the guts or the courage from your past experiences, something that shows them, this person knows what he's talking about, right? He might need some help or she might need some help along the way, okay? Coachable help, mentorship, for example, but certainly needs, certainly this person is somebody we want to work with, somebody that we feel good with, somebody that's gonna, that working together is going to make everything move forward. And if it fails or if it goes off at a tangent, because you have the credibility of the understanding of the industry, you're going to take it off at a different tangent. You're going to know what to do in terms of, okay, if something goes wrong, we're going to have to figure it out and move forward. Somebody that hasn't got that, somebody that, let's say, often founders that are not connected to the idea or haven't experienced the pain of the idea or haven't experienced the problem, often they're the ones that often, they not fail, but they, it closes and then that's the end of that. They don't take it forward because they don't have the industry knowledge, or they haven't experienced or really understood the problem, right? So as I say, startup pitching or just pitching in general is just as much about the service, the product, the value you're sharing, as it is you, the person or the agency, right, behind the idea.
Yes, fantastic. Peter, you've done this multiple times with so many people, I'm sure. And I'm sure some of my listeners out there are going to be wondering, okay, I've got this pitch, I've got this startup, and I need to go pitch to these clients, or I've got this product, I want to secure this contract with the government and things like that. What would you say are the three most important things they should have. They've got the subject matter experts. It's their thing. They know it in and out. They know the product. They know the service. But then there's the delivery element. There's the end client on the other side. What would you say are the three most important things?
In terms of the pitching, right? In terms of actually when they're face to face,
the value of that service.
Yeah. Okay. So
to the client, so that they can say yes to me or to the person.
Yeah. Okay. So again, it comes down to, a lot of this comes down to these first impressions, these first initial snap judgments people are making of you, right? And so they're making judgments about, you know, what you're wearing, how you move, how you mentioned
body language in the first instance. You mentioned body language earlier.
Your body language, that's right. Your gestures, how you look, your demeanor, and how calm you are. Often, how calm you are. You know, keeping in control, right? So if you can, you know, whatever you do, stay in control, especially when you're under pressure, because you might be, you know, you might be under pressure in terms of the questions they ask you, or there might be, you know, naturally you'll be nervous. But, you know, it's about, showing that you're in control, showing that, you know, you have a real understanding of the industry that you're in, a real understanding of this problem as well, and that you can really, you know, keep cool and listen. To show that you're a listener is a really good thing. I can't really say how strong that is, because it's really, really important. If you can listen and you're a good listener, and as we get older, well, actually, no, that's not true. Sometimes as we get older, we listen better. Sometimes we don't. We all know people that don't. They get more bitter and more grumpy, and you know, don't, everything is bad. But the thing is, if you can show that you're a listener and show that you're ready to hear opinions about your idea, maybe they are good, maybe they're not so good, and maybe they are completely, you know, really critical. But if you can take those on board, it really shows that you're somebody who's humble, and somebody that has control about how they share their messages, and really what's going up in here. Because this is really up here, the mindsets and how somebody sees you, and the perception of you, and how you come across. All this really does matter. It really does. I mean, absolutely. A lot of people will say, well, it doesn't really matter. Yes. But you know, at the beginning, opening those doors when people see you, because people don't have, you know, we make judgments all the time, right? We make snap judgments all the time, and those snap judgments, those first impressions, often stay with us. They stay with us. You know, they might change. It might be a completely wrong first impression. It might be, you know, your impression of someone could be completely false. It could be completely wrong of what the truth is. Often we don't hang around to find out, because we don't know.
Yes.
Right? We don't know. We just have an idea, and we think we're right. We often think we're right, but we don't hang around enough to know whether we're right or wrong. So really, you know, we can all assume that, we can all say that we have to make, the better our chances for creating a better first impression, the better our chances of keeping people's attention, keeping people's you know, intrigue about us, and starting to trust us more, starting to like us as well. But again, liking us, they don't have to like us to trust us, right? You don't have to like someone to trust someone, right? But a lawyer, let's say a lawyer, a dentist, I don't know, somebody who a doctor, right? You don't have to like them to know that if you go to them, they're going to help you, right? It's fine, because they're experts in their field and they know what they're doing, right? So if you can show that, I'm not saying that you have to show, I'm not saying that you have to be unlikable. I'm saying that we build our trust not just on likability. It helps, and it starts the ball rolling, and it can open doors. But really, the credibility, I think, lies in how you show up, how you see yourself, right? So the story in your own head about yourself, and how, you know, how controlled you are, how calm you are, and how open you are to listen to others. So all these things really do count when people are making these judgments of us. And we have to, if we can get closer to better judgments, or help people to have a better perception of us, then we should be doing that, right? It's not about manipulation. It's not about changing people's or convincing people completely, on a completely different track. It's just about giving ourselves a better foot forward, increasing our chances. This is what this is all about, increasing our chances of success.
Absolutely. And you've done that. I mean, start by letting listeners know. I don't want to say, because I can just go on talking and talking and talking, and because I know this, I'm going to let you answer the question. Let listeners know how many countries you've done your work in.
All right, so I've worked in 42.
You've taken that chance there. You've done so many things. You've taken
up to 4, I think it's 42 right now. I've worked 42. In. Yeah, 42. Yeah, odd, isn't it? I counted them one day. I got a map out.
Are they physical or
physical. Yeah, physical.
You've been there live.
Yeah, they're not like I've looked on Twitter or I've just looked at these places and said I've worked in them, or just chatted with somebody from that country. No, I've physical. Lived in 7. So so I live in Croatia right now.
You left us behind here in the UK.
Yeah, I did. So I'm from Watford. You're in Milton Keynes right now,
I'm in Milton Keynes, yeah.
Right, Milton Keynes. Yeah, I'm from Watford, down the road.
Not far away.
Sorry, what did you say?
Not far away.
Not far away at all. No. And yeah, I went to art college and had an education in graphic design, and then I went to live in Scotland for a while, straight after, and then I went to live in Paris, worked for Disney, and in the south of France, in Marseille. My mother was Maltese. I lived in Malta as well. I lived in Malta, and she was Maltese, French Maltese. She grew up in Marseille, and so I lived for a while in Marseille. I lived in Mallorca for a while, for about 3 years. The island of Madeira, Portuguese island. It's all MA, isn't it? It's all MA. I should have lived in Marbella.
Marseille.
Yeah, Marseille, Mallorca, Madeira. Croatia. So Croatia right now. So I lived in a different part of the country, 2 other different parts of the country, until I got here in the southern Dalmatian coast in Split. Budapest, lived for about 2 years in Budapest. I think that's 7.
And has your work, was all this move due to work, or just
work, studying, and the last 20 years I'm here in Croatia, very much settled. My daughters were born here, and this is where I live now. My company is here, and so most of my work is actually abroad, or through Zoom, through the camera lens.
Yes.
Right? So working physical, traveling to those places more naturally before the pandemic. Although things are starting to move a lot better now. Things are starting to move in the right direction.
What does it take when you go to do work in some of these countries where the culture is entirely different? What do you do to prepare yourself to be able to integrate, at least for the moment that you were there, to get your message across to the audience that you work with?
Yeah, okay. I mean,
someone like, for example, the Middle East. You've done some work in the Middle East.
Yeah, I'll do a lot of work in the Middle East actually. But the thing is, let's say UAE, it's very international. So it's really international. So the audience in front of me actually are completely international. So really, the messages there, it's actually helped me over the years to, again, share messages really in a really clear way, really concise, words and phrases that people will understand very quickly. the tone I'm sharing, the speed as well, so that people maybe who don't have a strong grasp of of listening to English, although most do, but there's some don't. That's okay. Just to really absorb those phrases and those messages really clearly. So, and also actually, you know, my 20 years. So the last 20. So we're looking at about 29 years, 28, 29 years abroad, out, you know, not in Watford. And so constant, and my ex-wife was not British. She's from Croatia. Okay. She's from Croatia. My kids actually are Croatian as well. So pretty much everybody around me, most people apart from expat friends and people I work with, most of the time my communication over those years, and certainly in Croatia, has to be clear. It has to be, you know, I can't maybe, you know, when I go back to the UK, you know, the type of phrases and the type of words that I use with my friends or people that I knew back, you know, years ago, you speak differently, right? But an international way of speaking, that's what I guess that's how I've kind of how I kind of do the work I do. Again, another thing is as well, teams. So it's teams. So I jump in. So an event, for example, in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Riyadh or wherever it is, I would go in there, you know, get to know the team very quickly. We all have a role. We all have a role to play in that team for the success of the event, right? So we have to quickly work together. And these people could be, you know, there's people from all different countries, all different ways of working. So really, we kind of have to, I certainly have to figure out very quickly the people that I'm working with directly with at the event, like the audio guy or the cameraman or the show caller or the stage manager, really work out really quickly, you know, what wavelength are we on? Hopefully we're on the right wavelength. Right chemistry. Yeah, that's right. So we have to do it really kind of, and naturally, the more experience you have and the more shows you do, the more events you do, you get used to it. But it's but yeah, and that's a skill, I think. It's a skill to jump into a team, work well with that team, have, you know, achieve something at the end of it together, and do it the best you can. And then bang, that team finishes, disperses, and then on to the next one. So what's the biggest audience you've had? Sorry? What's the biggest audience you've had? My biggest audience, let me think. I think it's 30,000. 30,000. Yeah, 30,000. But also there was quite a few that had less, that were like, you know, 10,000, but with another 20,000 online, right? So, but listen, let me tell you one thing. Numbers, don't be fooled by the numbers, right? So whether it's 30,000 or whether it's 1,000 or whether it's 20 people, okay, 20 people. That was good. That was good. 20 people is different than 20,000 people, right? It is different, but generally, you know, it's the same thing you're doing. It's the value you're sharing. So, and the level of anxiety is the same for me anyway. It's the same. That was my question. You know, is the anxiety same thing, same level of anxiety? Yeah. So whether it's, you know, a small one of a couple of hundred, or it's a large, really large tech event, one of the global ones, for example, you know, anxiety is the same. Actually, there's more anxiety. How do you prepare yourself? Well, okay, so the better I know my content, the better I'm going to be feeling when it comes to showtime, right? So if let's say I'm working in I don't know, a crypto event or a fintech event or blockchain, I really need to understand really what the event producers, what their goal is, what their ambition is, what do they want from the end of this, what's the kind of tone they want, what is it that they want people to feel at the end of the 2 or 3 days, right? So that really helps me understand the kind of tone I'm going to share on stage. Sometimes event producers or event organizers, they're just looking for someone with who can speak well and has some confidence. right? And that's cool, right? Other times, somebody who has the confidence naturally and also the speaking talent as well, but also the knowledge and the understanding of how to take out all the kind of ideas from the speeches, from the talks, and help all the audience really make sense of what's happening, right? So and the thing is, I don't really need to be a full expert on in the industry to have a good idea is good, right? And to know what to know, try to make sense of these clear messages, the messages that are coming out from all the speakers and the different talks and speeches during the 2 days or 3 days, helping the audience understand and make sense of that. That is often, you know, one of the things that event organizers want. Again, the other side of it as well, all MCs and hosts, they're all different. Everybody has their own style, own kind of the way of sharing their messages. Some of them are, you know, all kind of pizzazz and energy, high energy and jumping around. I tend not to be like that, although no, not although, yeah, I tend not to be like that. I like to have energy, like to share that energy. I try and put a little, I think I'm funny at sometimes. I think that's kind of strange, isn't it? But I do, I like to have fun on stage. I like to, yeah, I like to have fun on stage, and that over the years with experience, you can learn to kind of refine that and make it really kind of, you know, acceptable for everybody. It's not saying that I'm not a comedian at all. I'm not a stand-up comedian at all. But there's certain things that I can take out and help that are funny to me, and I know they're going to put a smile on the people that are listening in the audience as well, right? So again, listening to your event organizer and really understanding what they're looking for. Before the event, just make sure that I'm ready physically, that I've had enough water, certainly the night before. Really, whatever you drink the night before is going to affect you the day after.
It doesn't have to be champagne, not champagne.
Well, no, it will. It obviously will. If you have champagne the night before, it's going to affect you the day after. But I'm saying if you drink the water you drink, hopefully you drink lots of water the day before, that's going to help you the morning after, not on the morning. Right, the morning will help a little bit, but it's really what you drink before. So making sure that you're ready, you're feeling good, up early, good breakfast, yeah, and having all the notes, having all your notes prepared, and I stick them on cards and make sure, so I've gone through everything. The more I've got that as a backup. So I've got that as a backup, all the names, all the, the titles, the idea of what they're sharing is actually even more important than who they are.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're about to listen to somebody, a big mistake a lot of MCs do, a lot of hosts do that I hear all the time, they tend to kind of introduce the speaker, right? Introduce the speaker and all the kind of great things about that speaker. But at the end of the day, right, your audience, they don't really care about the speaker.
They don't know that.
Unless that speaker gives value to them. Right, so it's all about the value, all about what they're sharing, all about the title of the speech and what it's going to mean to them, right? And then after that, then I say a little bit about the speaker, right? So it's all about, getting them to feel and understand a little bit about the feeling and the value of what that speaker is going to share. I tend to start with that, and then I introduce the speaker at the end. So it's like, oh, this is the guy at the end, or woman at the end, who is about to share this value. So it's all, again, focusing on the value is always going to be number one. That's always what the audience want, right? Because you can have great speakers who are speakers who work across the world, work for speaker bureaus, and they're fantastic. They get paid a lot of money, and their egos are really big often. But at the end of the day, the value they share, that is number one. And you don't have to be a paid speaker to do that. You don't have to be somebody who does it for a living to do that. Anybody could share value. Anybody and everybody. Just a little bit of thought, maybe a little bit of guidance here and there, but everybody can share that value. You don't have to have credibility. Again, a really important thing to remember, you don't necessarily have to have credibility to share value. If it's pitching, then okay, that's different because they're investing in you and your service and your product, right? But if it's about a message, if it's about an idea, if it's about getting people to change their perspective on something, you can do that without actually credibility.
I love that. I love what you just said there about you don't have to have credibility to share value, because I feel a lot of people hold back on sharing value because they're not seen as credible. No one knows them. But that is such an important point that you shared there about
Yeah,
sharing
people
value.
think absolutely. People, it holds us back. That's what holds
Yes,
us back. A big thing that holds us back in our lives, really.
absolutely.
We're not good enough for this, or we haven't got the experience for this. We haven't got the knowledge for this. We haven't had a career in this compared to somebody else. We need to kind of put that as okay. Of course, all of these things help, right? But there's nothing to stop you from sharing something you believe in, you're passionate about, and you're helping people to understand something good and something of value, even though you don't have that credibility or the experience. And that's fine. And that's totally fine.
That is absolutely correct. And you know what? The minute you start to share value, you start to build credibility. So, no need to hold back on sharing that value. Now, you've had different types of clients, get you up to come, present, do, run events for them. And some companies, some organizations, maybe SMEs, myself as well included, because I'm also, going to be doing an event as well at some point. For people who want to use events as a means to boost their business, what sort of content should that event entail? Of
Can you
course, you don't want to make
rephrase
it
that
all
for me?
businessy
Can
and
you reframe
technical
that?
and things. Yeah, of course, you don't want to make it. So, say for example, I have a conference I started in 2018. It was my first one, and it was all about I've rebranded that conference now, and calling it the Risk Takers Conference, and it's where I bring people together, entrepreneurs, professionals, to come together and listen to talks from different speakers on how they are taking risk and sharing value on risk taking, sharing values on the concept, behavioral mindset things, and I kind of understand what I would have in that in that conference, the sort of people I would bring together as guest speakers. I'm not going to use that conference as a means to start talking about the intricacies of what risk is, or what the different type, the whole tech, going into the technicalities of it. Because people are coming out because they want to network, they want to hear, value, like you said earlier. And there are people out there who may want to use, whether it's a virtual event or in-person events, to help boost their business, attract potential, attention. You've seen tons of events, you've been to so many. What would you say should be the key component of a good event that can help one's business?
Yeah, I think, okay, in terms of if we look at the audience, if we look at the listeners, we look at the people that are paying for tickets, or not necessarily paying for tickets, but the audience, right? At the end of the day, it's all about them and on what they really are going to see as value. And if you have a more broader audience, you're going to have to look for different types of speakers that are giving different types of ideas, right? In terms of risk, because risk, we've talked about this before. And we talk about it constantly on the podcast. It comes under an umbrella of many different things, right? Or many different sectors, and it's almost like connected with an emotion that we all feel, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So it's if you were to do, let's say you were to do a conference, another conference in the future or coming up, again, really look at who is it for, who are the people that are going to buy tickets, and what for them would really bring value to them when they walk away. So looking at, unless you looked at a specific industry, having speakers from different walks of life, different types of industries and sectors as well, challenges they've faced or challenges they're helping people with, or all different things. But you know, I personally, I like this idea of I love this podcast. I love the idea of all about risk, because it's relevant to us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's relevant to us when we're young, through my, you know, through my career, when I was, you know, traveling and went to one country after the next. I took those risks, as did you, when you did things in your past and your experience in your career as well, and doing this podcast. And we're constantly taking risks, or we're constantly being told we shouldn't take risks, or some of us are kind of balancing things up, and maybe we have a tendency not to take risks because we want to be more, you know, more safe and more secure and more comfortable. But again, not taking those risks perhaps often will stop us maybe from reaping the benefits, more benefits afterwards. So again, that balance. So this idea of an event, when you speak about this, it kind of conjures up these images of people walking away after 2 or 3 days at this event, or a day event, or however long it is, feeling actually inspired to make a decision, make decisions on risk that's going to help them. And that may mean that they have to kind of be more comfortable, or not take as many, or it may mean they have to take more, or it may mean they just have to make, you know, to gather more information and data before they make those risks, you know. So I like this, because we're doing it, we're taking risks constantly, and throughout our careers, throughout our personal lives, this is a word that pops up all the time.
All the time.
And knowing how to kind of, or getting some ideas, or hearing how other people have dealt with things, how other people have kind of got through difficult times, or other people who have maybe taken risks when they shouldn't have done, or they did take a risk, and it's actually taking them further to a place that they couldn't even imagined that they'd be in the future. This is all good stuff. So again,
Absolutely.
Going back to the question, really, the value that you're going to share, or the speakers are going to share across different types of industries, if your audience is a wide audience of different people, which I expect, which I gather from what they are from this podcast. Right?
Absolutely. That is amazing. I mean, I love the way you broke down, you know, the idea of taking risk, and, you know, what you said is quite apt to the fact that, you know, from when we are young to adult life, we are constantly taking risks. And I like to say that, you know, from the moment we are born, we are taking risk, because we have to take the risk to breathe that air. We're no longer in the womb. We have to take that risk when we're toddlers and we're trying to walk and we fall on our bum and all that stuff and try to get up. I mean, risk is a part, it's not a part of life, it is life. And we just need to know how to navigate it in whatever way. Communication is a very important aspect of it, you know, and what you were doing, what you're presenting here is a form of how we communicate with our audience, so we can give them value. And that is essential in life, in anything we do in life. And having people like you who are experts in helping people like us, people like our listeners, know how to perfect our pitch, our speech, our presentation. My goodness, I'm sure your phone, your email is going to be blasted with questions or contacts when we're done with this. You know,
as you're saying this, again, it's conjuring up images of, again, risk and anxiety, right? Because often, you know, this is it's a big thing, that the anxiety, knowing or just feeling that you can do this, feeling that you can speak in front of a crowd, and for so many, it kind of cripples us, or it holds us back far more than it should, right? Because it's again, and it's a risk. It's a risk because the anxiety. What is anxiety? You know, this fear of public speaking. What is that? That is actually, if we look at it more closely,
what is it? What is it actually?
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you what I think it is. I think it's different layers. All right. It's fear of many things. Right. It's fear of rejection. Right. It's fear of you know, the people listening to you are not going to accept your idea. Right. Or they're not going to accept you. right? Or they're not going to see you as one of them. They're not going to, or they're going to see you as, or your, the impression of you is going to go down, right? So again, because it's unpredictable, we don't know. Okay, if we've done it before, the more experience we have, we can visualize it, and we can tell ourselves, oh, we've done it before, and so we can get more confident at it. So, like, I think I've said this before, the more we do something, the more we get confident at it. Doesn't mean we're doing it right, but it means that we often get it, our brains tell us we're good at it, right? Because we do it many times, right? So the more you do, the more speaking you do, the more confident you get at it, right? And the more your brain tells you, okay, actually, I got through it. I was okay. Nothing happened. I was all right. Yeah. So this fear it comes in many different forms: fear of rejection, fear of not being accepted, the fear of looking like a fool, the fear of not belonging to this tribe of people that are listening to you, which actually doesn't really exist at all, because it's actually a group of people, and we see that as one. Rather than actually just all different opinions. And the important thing here is to remember is that judgment, everybody has the right to judge us. Right? We judge everyone all the time, don't we? I mean, I do it all the time. I do it less now, and I suspend my judgment a lot more, right? But I still judge, right? Yeah. And I shouldn't, and I think for people that do a lot of judging, this is what I've experienced anyway, certainly with the people that I've worked with, or the people around in this industry that I'm in. The people that judge a lot negatively are often the people that judge themselves negatively as well, or have a high level of negative self-judgment, right? Because the way they see the world is in a sort of I'm not saying people see things constantly in a negative light, but we all have this kind of scale of how we see things. We see things, glass half empty or glass half full. Some of us are sort of tend to, we know people that are kind of grumpy and always, they always find something that they're not happy with, or always blame it on someone else, or something's wrong, or something, there's something there. And we also know people that, okay, these things happen, okay, open to what happened, maybe look at it further, and then, accept accountability when we have to, when it's us, or just, actually it wasn't that a big deal. That's how things are. There's a reason for it, and accepting the world as it is, looking at it more through kind of something more positive, right? So this judgment thing, letting people judge you, because you're going to have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. We deal with that throughout our lives, through when we're kids, then through adolescence, which is really tough for many of us because we think everybody's looking at us. But remember, those that are 15, 16, 17, thinking the world is looking at them all the time. The world's not looking at them all the time. In fact, they don't care. The world doesn't really care.
That's the fact. That's the reality.
And that's really important to remember. No one really cares. No one really cares about you when you come out on stage. Okay, they'll make a judgment of you, and if they don't like it, they'll remember that for a moment, and probably they'll forget it, right? So it's up to us to make a good impression, right? So it's up to us to really get people, earn their time, earn their respect, earn their not trying to be likable, but again, like the things we talked about earlier on about credibility, really sharing value, telling people what they're going to get at the beginning in terms of the value, and then people will listen, right? Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter how you walk on stage, doesn't actually really, even if your voice is not that great, although it is actually something that can really sway somebody's judgment of you. At the end of the day, if your value is really good, and it's relevant to your audience, and that it means something to them, you can literally come out in a pair of shorts and flip-flops and look a complete mess, But if you share a message that is really strong and people can resonate with it, and it actually means something to them, and it helps them change their perspective on something, and they felt they got value as they walk away, then that's all good, right? So again, let people judge us, because we can't change that. We can't change that. We can't.
Yeah.
We can try. We can fight against it, which is not going to help, or we can absorb it and say, okay, that's okay. People are going to judge us. People are judging you right now. People are judging me right now on this podcast. They're listening to this. Some people maybe have already judged us negatively and have gone.
Yes.
And there's nobody left. It's just me and you, right? That might be the case. I don't know. If it is, it's been a lovely chat.
It has been.
Just the two of us.
And we've built a friendship as well. So
we are, it takes two to tango, and we have been tangoing throughout this last half an hour, 45 minutes.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So people people have the right to judge, let them judge. But so the only thing you need to really figure out and focus on is that value. And if you know you've given value, or you know you've done your best to give that value, the judgment side, it's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter.
It's irrelevant, absolutely. And you know what's really cool to know as well is that there are people out there who would appreciate that value and are saying thank you in their hearts. You never see that. You're never going to see that. You're never going to know, about the many people who appreciate what you've said, but are not able to reach you to say thank you.
That's a really important thing to remember as well. Yes. People that appreciate you often will not tell you.
Will not tell you, yes.
Okay, the majority of time when somebody appreciates your value, whether it's speaking, whether it's the work you do, whether it's if you've helped somebody, majority of the time you won't know, right?
Exactly.
But that's okay. That's totally
that is
fine.
Okay. That is
and as you were saying, again, with the judgment side, we're constantly being judged all the time, and we don't need others to validate. Others shouldn't really validate, our value. So we look at social media today. That's a lot of that is the likes, the follows, the numbers, subscribers. These are all metrics that are confusing us, making us feel like this is the value, this is validation of the value we're sharing, right? Which is, sometimes it is, but a lot of the time it isn't. And so, as young people, again,
yes,
people,
you just reminded me of something happened today. Actually, I've got not what's it called now, a TikTok account for the podcast, and I'm never on it. I let my guys do the posting and do the engagement with people. And today I decided to go on it, and I noticed that my audio guy put a post out, asking people what the biggest risk they've taken, and there were loads of responses and loads of video responses, and I thought, what, I'm just going to reply and say, thank you for this, thank you for that, amazing you're doing this, amazing you're doing that. And then I decided to do a video, my first ever TikTok video. I've never done it. I'm not really into TikTok.
Yeah, you say that now. You watch in a year's time, you're gonna be a TikTok star. You'll be a world viral TikTok star.
But look at this,
Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
The top Milton Keynes TikTok.
I know. I did a TikTok video just to say thank you to everyone who responded to that challenge, and and say that they are doing amazing things. I did a few shout outs, and then one of the guys who had responded to the challenge did say that this video actually made him feel real good. Thank you for the shout outs. Last night I had a PTSD attack and I went into therapy. So seeing this video really, really made me feel good. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
I never would have thought in a million years I would reach someone like this. Just do a TikTok video.
Small things, isn't it? It's the small things we're doing. We don't know. We don't know who we're helping, but if we do them with a good intention and we do them with a positive heart, and a good tone, and then we share it with the world, and whether something comes back fine. If something doesn't come back, that's okay
Fine
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's just taking that effort, making that effort to share the value, to do it from your heart, from my heart, to really help whoever the recipient is, whoever the listener is. And whether we get any reward back, it's fine. What I've done, I've gotten the reward of giving value. So see the value you give as your own reward. And that's the way.
Yeah, not expecting, and also not expecting validation, positive validation back.
Yes,
not expecting it. Yeah, because
exactly.
if you don't get it, and so many people are, they're trapped in this kind of, this world of likes.
Likes.
If they post
Crazy
something on
world of likes
LinkedIn,
out there.
post something on LinkedIn and it doesn't get any likes, and they just feel like they feel down, because this sense of endorphin, endorphin's not happening, and they, just people don't need to validate themselves on how other people's perception of them are, right? Even if it's good. So when it's going well, when things are going well, let's say we post some things and people like them, and you post a few more things and more people like them.
Yeah.
We shouldn't get carried away in our brains telling ourselves, hang on a minute, I am who I am because everybody likes what I'm doing. That's not the case. That shouldn't be the case, because when you post something that people don't like, or people are not showing that they like it, that doesn't mean they don't.
Yes.
It confuses us, and for many of us, it's a contradiction, right? And it just takes us to a place where we start questioning whether we're good or not, and our identity, and all these other things, all these kind of other things in a can of worms, right? So yeah, validation should really sort of start with us. And it's not about, we don't need the likes. We don't need to be, you're doing this podcast right now. Every week is it every week?
Every week.
Every week you do. How many episodes have you done so far? Remind me.
This is your number 32. No, wait.
What number am I?
You are going to be number 34. You're going to be number 34.
34. There we are.
Yes.
34 conversations you've had. Now, if you, and I'm sure you don't, I know you don't, right? Yeah. I know you don't. When you share these, you don't expect, okay, I need the likes. I need the listeners.
No, that's not the hope.
Clearly, when people are listening, and then you look at your metrics, and you look at who's, the demographics of the people that are listening, and numbers, and that's all good, right? And it's going to help. And if more people listen and more people subscribe and follow, that's all good, because it's going to help you and move forward. If you want to monetize this in another way as well for the business, it's all good. But if it doesn't, if you're not getting loads of comments coming through, you're still going to go through with this, because you're sharing value. And these conversations of everybody that's speaking, I listened to, who was it last week? Was it last week? The week before? A lady who's actually she's got a YouTube channel.
Is it the lady?
Yeah.
Liz Wright.
Liz, what a great episode that was. Yes. Liz, if you're listening to this, we've actually contacted her on anyway. I told her anyway. Great episode, really good episode. I really enjoyed that. I really did enjoy that. So I learned lots of stuff from that as well. And it's so true. If anybody's listening to this, okay, I'm not asking you to stop listening to this episode right now.
Carry on.
But after you've done this one and you've got time, go and have a look at number. What number is Liz?
Wait, I'm going to tell you what number that is. I caught them. I'll tell you what number that is. That was a good one, actually. It was really a good, episode. And that was episode number, that was just last week.
Yeah, that
was a really good episode.
And what struck, the things that was shared in that with me was really, that resonated with me was, how kind of remote working and how that changed, and how she and her team, and there was so interesting something she said regarding, there are many people over these last couple of years, young people, that have never worked in an office.
Yes.
Right. They've just simply they've worked remotely, and that's their whole. That's how they see work. So they have never had somebody, somebody in the office, or maybe a peer, or maybe a manager that has shown them how to have a difficult conversation, or shown them how to, how do you deal with this at this certain point, or learning from your peers on how they deal with certain situations or challenges or problems. They've never had that because they're not around other people, right? And so it's so interesting how that is moving forward, and the way that work and the way that hybrid work is unfolding and changing so quickly as well. And how that's going to look like in the future. So that conversation you had with her was loads of value. It's not about the likes. Whether one person liked that, at least you got one person liked it. I liked it. I'm sure lots of other people liked it as well.
I don't even know, I didn't even
but people don't need to show. They don't need to say they liked it. They don't need to leave a comment. That's okay, because you both know that brought value. So again, validating ourselves first, right, and knowing the value and trying to improve. Yes, trying to keep on improving, trying to get better, trying to take it up a level. We can always move forward. We can always go up, right? We can always invest in ourselves, learn something new, learn something more to move forward in the right direction. But first of all, it's all about our validation rather than solely the validation of others, especially when things are going well, right? And also when things are not going well as well.
So well, wow, amazing. You've shared so much value. You have shared so much value on this episode, Peter. And I've taken so many notes here. I think this is probably the podcast where I've taken the most notes.
Really?
Yes, so it just shows the amount of value that you do offer, and that's also help build your credibility, because without you've worked so many clients in different sectors. They know what you do, and that's why you keep getting all this repeat work. How do you balance it all with family life?
How do I balance it with family life? Listen, I'm a divorced man. I got
It's
great what you said, and basically
yes, I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah, no. So I'm divorced 5 years ago, and I said my kids live with their mother on the other side of the country, and they're 13 and 15.
Okay.
2 girls. They're born here, and it's good.
I've got 2 girls as well, 12 and 9.
Yeah, great. So they're pretty proud of their dad, who's a new TikTok star, right? Milton Keynes, you are the Milton Keynes top TikTok man.
But you know what? They actually do love what I do. I'm actually planning to do a podcast. My youngest daughter, she wants to do a podcast with me, so we're planning an episode together. I think she's going to take after me. She wants to be an entrepreneur. She wants to do her own thing. I'm like, okay, don't worry.
That's a great idea. Really good idea.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? We'll do an episode together, and we'll plan that. And in everything, family obviously comes, first. We got to do what we do for our family. Everything that we're doing right now is to obviously, our children want us to look good. They want to see us happy. They want to be proud of their daddies,
You're right. So, absolutely right.
You're doing great. Right. And I'm sure your daughter speak of you and like, my dad, this, he's there. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's if we need any validation, let it be from our children.
Yeah. My kids right now, they I don't think they really realize exactly what I do and how I help people. They sort of see me as just someone who's like talks and tells stories and does a lot of podcasting as a guest, and is on stage a lot, holding a microphone. But they're not quite sure, and they know that I travel to different countries, and they're kind of used to me just going off to different places. But the thing is, I'm sure they're learning loads of things as well. Absolutely, along the way. They're learning about all these countries and all the different things that are happening, so yeah. But I think
you'll be surprised about how much they know, because my kids surprise me sometimes. I'm like, how did you know that? Did you hear me talking about that someday, sometime? And what they come up with, some of the risk things I do. I'm like, wow, they're listening, and I'm sure they're proud of you. Just, as much as my kids are proud of me, I'm sure they're definitely proud of you, definitely. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. let's wrap this up now. I know I've kept you here longer, and we've been talking for over an hour now.
I know you want to get back on TikTok. You've got a whole strategy of TikTok moves. I'm looking forward to the moves.
I've got.
Have you got the bringing out the 80s and the 90s moves, busting the caterpillar,
the guys in the office are doing
the robot? I'm sure the crouchy move. I'm looking forward to your moves on TikTok, Chiz.
I think
the man from Milton Keynes.
Repping Milton Keynes, exactly.
You got it.
Exactly. Listen, I usually ask this question at the end of every interview, and the question is, if you were to choose a superhero, fictional or non-fictional, which one would you say represents you and why? It's the superhero question.
Yeah, I've heard that question many times.
You listen
and I've heard many answers to that question. And I'd love to give a really good answer.
It's not about a good answer, just give an answer.
I'm just thinking, in terms of superheroes.
It can be a person, living, dead, fictional, non-fictional, character.
I don't know. Don't know. I'm just thinking right now. I don't know. I'm just, do you want to know who's actually coming to my mind right now?
Who's coming to your mind?
I'll tell you who's coming to my mind. Columbo. Now for listeners who are younger than
that's all
20 or 30, probably have no idea who Columbo is.
They have no idea.
Columbo was a TV detective, and it was an American series, wasn't it? And it was during in the 80s. Yes. I think probably stopped in the 90s. I think the guy died. He's probably dead. I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, and he was a great detective, and he had a funny eye. I think he had a glass eye. Yeah. But he had always this idea, the way he shared his messages were like, just he always sort of shared them in a way. He'd have a suspect in front of him, but the suspect wouldn't feel like a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
And he would question them, and he wouldn't feel like he was questioning them or interrogating them, almost like his friend. And then bang, right at the end, he'd tell them why he thinks it's them, and they'd admit it. Now, I'm not quite sure how that connects with what I'm doing. I don't really see myself as a detective. I'm not a detective.
Are you inquisitive or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just the way he shares his messages and the tone. So he kind of like not manipulated the tone, but he was very wary. Well, his character was really aware of how he came across to create the right perception, or a perception that he wanted.
Isn't that what you do as a speaker, a presenter, and everything you do?
Exactly. So you can Google. Go on the internet after you've had a look at Chiz's TikTok series of 90s moves. You can then Google, then you Google Columbo series, Columbo Detective. Pop that in, and you'll see exactly who I mean.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. It's been wonderful having you on this podcast today. You've shared so much value. I've learned so much myself. My pitch will get better, I'm sure, after this. And I'm going to be talking to you about events as well, as time goes on. Now, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you? How can they connect with you? I'm sure some listeners may want to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, easiest way, just simply go over to LinkedIn, put my name in there, and Speaker Coach, and you will find me, and you'll see all the things that I've been doing. This podcast, I'm sure, as well. Lots of other tips and advice, and you'll see how I'm helping other companies and teams to really share their messages in the right way, in terms of delivery, in terms of stories, in terms of pitching, in terms of communicating with impact. So have a look at that. If there's something that tickles your fancy, there's something that you think I can help you with, reach out, send a quick message. We can jump on a quick Zoom call, and then we can explore maybe ideas on how we can collaborate, perhaps.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Will do. Thank you for spending the time to listen to this episode with Peter Hopwood. If your next pitch presentation, event, or public speaking isn't better after listening to or applying what Peter has shared with us today in this episode, then something must have gone wrong somewhere. I know mine will be better. So please make sure you practice some of what Peter has shared so you can communicate your message with your audience better. I hope I'm doing that, and please hold me accountable if my messaging doesn't get better after this episode. Better still, why don't you send us a voice message to let us know what part of this episode you found most useful. To do this, find the send in a voice message link in the show bio and send the voice message that way to let us know how this episode is going to be of use to you. Check out our new shows every week and click the follow or subscribe button to be notified when they are released. Don't forget to leave us a review. 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 1-star, 2-star, it doesn't matter. Just let us know how you feel. I am your host, your risk champ, Chizubele Gudo, here on the School of Risk podcast. Until next time, learn this. Risk is a person or an entity with a purpose. What this means is that risk is you, and how you manage yourself, whether a person, business, or an organization, determines whether you achieve the purpose you have defined for yourself. Thank you.